Welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity Awareness TV. This is episode 398, recorded June 18th, 2022. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I'm a cybersecurity consultant and researcher. If this is the first time you have seen my show, I discuss cybersecurity awareness, news, interviews, and tips that you can use to help protect yourself from the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century, and those are cyber crimes, folks. Cyber crimes affecting our everyday lives. I'd also like to thank all of our viewers who have supported our show over the years here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV to bring this information to the public. Our listeners are from around the world. We appreciate all of your comments, information that you've given us, and help us to promote our show. You will find for more information about my show and about what I do as a cybersecurity consultant by going to my website at macjacksonjr.com. That's macjacksonjr.com. And remember, folks, to always share, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, folks, so you can be informed of all of our latest shows here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV. That's also broadcast on the WWTV network on the Roku streaming network, folks. You can definitely also support us and help us out in our show by going to Patreon, folks, patreon.com/Mac Jackson Jr. and definitely be one of our patrons. Support our show here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV. In today's show, we have a great show for you. Our first segment on cybersecurity news, we're talking about the rise, folks, of cyber crimes and how it is going on and on. There are more cyber crimes hitting us on a day-to-day basis from these hackers that are out there looking for your personal information. In our second segment, we're going to talk about something, folks, that is a new form of a cyber attack, but it's an old one, but it's a new one that's coming up again, and this is called SIM card swapping. Yes, SIM card swapping and SIM card spoofing. We're going to talk about that. And then, of course, like we do every week, in our third segment, we talk about things you can do to protect yourself from these types of cyber attacks, folks. So let us get started. Folks, segment one, the rise of cybersecurity attacks are steadily growing at an incredibly pace. Our federal government has talked about it, and businesses and corporations are finally taking steps to do something about it to protect customers, consumers' personal identifiable information from these types of cyber hackers. Because, folks, it's not about your physical bodies that they want to kidnap. It is your personal data and information that these hackers use to sell online to other bad guys. And businesses and government entities are doing everything that they can to make sure that this data is harder for these hackers to get and to manipulate and take from you. But there's some things that we must do ourselves as well, and that's why we have our show here, Cybersecurity Awareness TV. There's been a steadily increase of these types of cyber attacks, and our federal government has talked about it and put together mandates and talked to business entities around our country to work together with the federal government on these types of new laws and regulations. Especially President Biden and the Congress have come out with some regulations and new laws that are being implemented to protect us from these cyber attacks. And folks, I have a story here that I've researched for you that I'd like to share with you. This clip comes from CBS, Indiana, on the federal government reaction to the nation's cybersecurity policy. Check out this clip.
Well, a CBS 4 consumer investigation now. From consumers to business owners to the President of the United States, cybersecurity is top of mind. Tonight, CBS 4 consumer investigator Courtney Crown shows us how these online attacks can affect Hoosiers.
President Joe Biden has directed the federal government to work with the private sector to prevent, detect, and analyze cyber threats and attacks.
It has reached, again, a real national conversation.
GuidePoint Security's Chief Security Officer Gary Brickhouse says there are two major groups causing cyber issues.
One group is financially motivated, and that's really all they care about. They want money. The other group isn't after money. They are just after disrupting.
Scott Shackelford, chair of IU's Cybersecurity Risk Management Program, says it's nearly impossible to fully prevent cyber threats from attacking businesses and the government, especially when there are so many components.
There's legitimate concern and confusion about where do you put that next dollar of investment? Do you put it in end-to-end encryption to make sure that when information is compromised that it can't be read? Do you put it in multi-factor authentication? Do you put it in, cyber hygiene training?
Brickhouse says even if a business has its own systems protected, it needs to think about the vendors it works with.
Attackers, instead of trying to sort of come through my front door, they'll come through the supply chain, that third-party company, and then they're able to access and attack my company through that relationship.
Ransomware continues to threaten companies and governments. This is a form of malware that encrypts devices' files, leading to systems becoming unusable. Bad actors then demand ransom in exchange for the information. Brickhouse says cyber liability insurance can help a company recover,
so that they're not left with, a $5 or a $10 million bounty payment that they have to pay to an attacker.
Now, obviously, you can't keep every cyber attacker out, but there are important steps you can take to protect yourself or a business. First, require that two-step authentication on all your devices. Officials say this is 99% effective in reducing the likelihood of a hack. Also, update your software so you have the newest level of protection, and use strong passwords that are not a sequential set of numbers or a family or pet name. And finally, think before you click. The top way hackers get into systems is through a phishing email. If you don't know what that is, I explain it in this story on our website. Take a minute to check that out. For CBS 4 Consumer Investigates, I'm Courtney Crown.
And if that isn't enough, there's even more, folks, when it comes to cyber attacks. Folks, right now in our country, one of the biggest things that all consumers are concerned about is the rising price of gas, how gas has gone up exponentially, right, within the last few years. It is crazy. In some states, it is up to $7 a gallon. Now, yes, we understand it's higher in other countries, but we're concerned with Americans and what we're paying for gas right now. Absolutely incredible. But with all sorts of problems in our world, hackers will always find a way to exploit this type of crisis that's going on. I have a story here, folks, to share with you of hackers that were able to hack into gas stations' gas pumps and control the amount of money you pay per gallon. This is absolutely incredible, but you never know when it comes to hackers. If there's a way to do it, they will find a way, folks. Check out the story that I have uncovered from WTKR News 3 on this type of cyber hack. Look at this.
Today, Virginia Beach police are continuing their investigation after officers say two men stole nearly $14,000 worth of gas. They're accused of hacking into a gas pump at a Citgo on Great Neck Road. You see it behind me here. News 3 reporter Penny Commit spoke with a local cybersecurity expert about how this was able to happen.
It was at this Virginia Beach gas station where police say two men were able to use a special remote device that allowed them to hack into these gas pumps and fill up people's tanks. To understand just how this was possible, I spoke with cybersecurity expert and ECPI University professor Scott Gibson. Gibson says the hackers likely accessed the gas station's internal web system using a laptop. This allowed them to select a command that let them dispense gas freely for whatever price and for whatever period of time they wanted. The cybersecurity expert says there are two ways to access a business's web system: by finding holes in the company's Wi-Fi, or much more easily through an email.
They just received an email, and with that email, somebody in that facility clicked it, activated that malware, and now the remote attack was there because now they got a signal back. Now they can get in there and set it all up. Hey, at this day, at this time, dispense this gas. And that's how they would be able to get on social media and say, hey, on this day at this time, go here, half off.
Two men were arrested in this case, Norfolk residents Rashane Griffith and Devon Drumgoole. But Gibson says this type of hacking is highly sophisticated and suggests there may be more people behind this attack.
Somebody had to create the malware. Somebody had to have an understanding of that software. The people actually executing it might not be sophisticated. And we're just saying, hey, I got this. Let's do this.
With gas being so expensive, do you think instances like this could keep happening?
Oh, yeah, it's happening all over the country.
Leading Gibson to believe that cyber awareness is more important than ever.
Ask questions before you click. But our more natural instinct most of the time for most people is, what is this? And they click it. And a lot of cyber attacks take advantage of that.
In Virginia Beach, Penny Commit, News 3.
Folks, we here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV have reported that as in all types of cyber attacks like this, like the crazy one about the gas pump hack, absolutely amazing. But as we continue from other parts around our country, the hackers are continuous to find other means of getting information. And this one, folks, is one that is very personal to me because I am a professor and a teacher, but this affects our students. There has been a huge cyber attack that has happened in Chicago School District. Over 500,000 students have been affected. Now, they're stating that it wasn't kids going in and trying to change a grade to a class they have attended. It was actually going in and looking for one of the most vital parts of a child's personal identifiable information, and that's their social security number, because a child has a clean financial slate, right? They have their name, their birth date, their birth certificate, a social security number. If that information is stolen, that information can be sold to other hackers, other bad guys, and put our children in credit and financial crisis. So this is something you should know as well, folks. Always run credit reports, yes, folks, even of your children. Absolutely. It's free, and you should do it as well. But here's a story, another story I haven't covered. I'd like you to take a look at this from CBS Chicago regarding a data breach of 500,000 students' personal identifying information. Roll the clip.
Great to have you with us. I'm Joe Donlin. Erica is off tonight. We start with new details about that massive data breach involving more than 500,000 Chicago Public School students and staff. Tonight, we're asking why it took months for CPS to disclose it. And CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozlov explains why school districts are becoming prime targets for cyber criminals.
Chicago public school families began getting emails like this one late last week. Their children's information compromised in a data security breach and ransomware attack at Battelle for Kids, a CPS vendor. It states cyber criminals didn't access students' social security numbers, but they did get names, birth dates, gender, student ID numbers, and other information.
There were over 1,000 ransomware attacks on schools in 2021.
Lisa Plagemeyer with the nonprofit National Cybersecurity Alliance says a child's pristine credit history makes districts attractive targets.
Your child's social security number is clean, right? It's a social security number that can easily be abused for a long time.
It's a growing concern the CBS 2 investigators first exposed last September. If you were aware of that. After a public records request we sent to 60 of Illinois' 850 school districts, found Payless Community Consolidated District 118 had been the victim of a ransomware attack and didn't realize personal information ended up on the dark web.
Think about it as a cyber bomb.
Is how Crane Hassold explains a ransomware attack. Hackers lock up all of a system's data and holds it for ransom, money. In this breach involving CPS, it's not clear if Battelle for Kids paid the cyber swindlers to get its data back or why it took until late April to notify the district of the December 1st breach. Cyber expert Grant Geyer.
It's completely unacceptable that it took 5 months for CPS to be notified by Battelle.
A CPS spokesperson says they're addressing the delay, adding Battelle officials told them an independent forensic analysis was first needed to verify the breach. Plagemeyer is skeptical and says this latest attack is another call for school boards to plan.
Do we know whether or not we will pay the ransom? Because that's a policy decision. Whether or not you're going to spend potentially taxpayer money to pay cyber criminals instead of pay teachers, to me that's a moral decision and a policy decision.
CPS is offering impacted students, which include 2 of my kids, free credit monitoring, and experts strongly suggest that you sign up for it. I also reached out directly to Battelle for Kids to ask them about that delay and some other questions. No response. I'm live outside CPS headquarters in the Loop. Dana Kozlov, CBS 2 News. Joe.
Dana, thank you. Dana has reported extensively on schools compromised by hackers. So grab your phone, scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen, and that will take you to our CBS 2 investigators page. You'll see Dana's exclusive investigation into school ransomware attacks.
As you can see, folks, there's a lot of definitely hack attacks or different types of hacking events going on around our country. Everything from the healthcare industry to the banking and financing to children in schools. and gas pumps. It's all over the place, but there are things that we can do about it. That's to stay vigilant. Stay vigilant, folks, and stay aware of what you can do to protect yourselves. And that's why you're here watching our show, Cybersecurity Awareness TV. We have a lot to show you, and definitely stay tuned. I have another scoop on another story, folks, that was just absolutely, will definitely get you concerned. We'll be right back for that story after these messages. Hello, folks. This is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world, but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Vanderson Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here #StayCyberWoke. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VandersonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back. Hi, folks. Welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. If this is the first time you listen to our show, folks, we have some information for you on cybersecurity awareness, news that you can use, folks. In this segment, we're talking about SIM card spoofing. That's right, folks, SIM card spoofing. And SIM card is what you have in your smartphone that has all information about who you are, the owner of your phone. And if this information is spoofed or stolen from your phone and either transported to another telephone, they could have, the hackers that is, the person having your fake phone, if you would, can have all information about you and who you are. So to look at this, you have to understand what smartphone spoofing means. To understand smartphone spoofing, you must first understand what a SIM card is, also known as a subscription identification module. A SIM card is a small card that chipped, like was mentioned before, inside your smartphone. And how it works, it is used to transmit information about you to send and receive phones and texts from your smartphone provider. How SIM swapping works is that the SIM card is stolen by these criminals, and through means that we've talked about on this show, do either through an email sent to you, through malware, or from a text that you've clicked on from someone that you don't know, or you clicked on a text from someone you did know, and maybe they themselves had their card spoofed. And what happens is the hackers would take your information, put it into their phone or another phone, contact your provider, and to steal information about you. Now you may say, well, how could that be done if our providers would protect us from that? True, they would. However, this is how this works. Once your information is stolen from the SIM card, the actual hackers would wait and to find out more information about you, maybe by going on your phone. Now they have access to it and finding your personal identifiable information, such as your social security number, your pet's name, where you went to high school with, any identifiable information about you. They take this information, and then when they contact your provider, guess what, folks? Now they can give your provider with information about you, and the provider can then say, you must be the right person. The provider will also say, let me send a text message to that particular phone number to identify that you are who you say you are. And they send that information to that phone, again, the fake phone, and then the bad guys on the other line will give them that number back. So now your company, your ISP, will say, oh, you must be legitimate, and allow you to do whatever you need, such as maybe changing the phone number, changing the email address, changing over the billing information. But they would do that just so they can get information from your phone. Once they were able to either download information from your phone, because now they're saying they have a new phone that they're connected with, they're not using the old phone anymore, they could download all information that maybe is saved at the service providers about you, like your cryptocurrency information, like your banking information that you've already have set up. Once those apps are downloaded to the fake phone, they can then proceed to go in and try to take information from you. And these fraudsters will look at stealing this information. And once it's done, they don't need your phone anymore. Now you try to use your phone and you'll get information like this number is no longer in service, it's disconnected. They don't need it anymore. And a lot of people are stuck, not sure what to do once they get these types of events happen to them. You know, where should they go? Who do they talk to? Well, the question is, how does this happen? Now, there's been a lot of reports, even from the FBI, that have stated that this type of crime has been on the increase. There's been over 1,600 reports of this types of SIM swapping that's going on in 2021, and it's jumped even higher in 2022 this year, with losses over $68 million in losses, people losing their information from their phone. Again, it's the personal identifiable information that fraudsters want to get from your phone, where they can log back into your banking account, to your financial institutions after you have already been there and they've recorded your information. They will log back in. For example, here's a good example on my research here, is that the fraudsters would log into an individual's bank account information once they've stolen their SIM and have a check sent from their bank to the fraudsters overseas, draining everything out of your checking account. That is why you want your information. And because the fraudsters have your SIM card information, they can convince the phone company that you are who they say you are, and convince your bank that you are who they say you are, and be able to take your money. So this is something that we really, really need to be aware of. So what can we do about it? Like we talked about on the show, especially in our third segment, we'll talk about things that you can do to protect yourself. But I'll tell you right now, folks, the best thing you could do is, if you see any information from a text message or a email, the federal government, and we're saying on our show as well, think before you click. Let that sink in, folks. Think before you click. Before you click onto a text message or an email, you make sure it's from a legitimate source. If you don't know who it is, you go back and verify it, that it is who they say they are. And folks, to add to our research here, I have a doozy for you. I have a report here that I'd like to share with you from WFLA News Channel 8 on this type of SIM swapping that you cannot miss. Check this story out.
Cheated, lied to, or tricked? She's tackling every opportunity to make something that went wrong right. Better Call Bacon is on your side.
Crooks have figured out another alarming way to use your cell phone to steal your money.
It is called a SIM card swap, and the FBI is out with a warning because cases of this SIM card scam are skyrocketing, victims losing more than $68 million last year alone. When it happened to a Pasco County man, he knew he had better call Bacon.
Jen, Keith, this is frightening. Imagine your phone goes dark and you're locked out of your financial accounts. By the time you get access back, your money is long gone.
This has been a total nightmare for the last 7 months, as you can imagine.
Dan Clark recalls waking up on October 12, 2021 to a phone that was out of service.
My phone said, no service SIM card. And I didn't even know what a SIM card was.
He didn't know what a SIM card was, but he was about to find out. And by the time he did, he claims around $700,000 of proceeds from investments in cryptocurrency had been transferred to crooks.
I lost everything in a matter of a few hours. Life's work, a few hours.
He had thought his money was safe in the app on the phone.
I was not even participating in like the Bitcoins and these type things. I had it just sitting on the exchange in USD coins.
Dan quickly learned he was a victim of a SIM swap, a sophisticated scheme the FBI warns is sweeping the country. In 2021, the FBI received 1,611 SIM swapping complaints, representing $68 million in losses to consumers. The FBI explains crooks trick mobile carriers to transfer your SIM, basically your phone number, to a device they control, either by impersonating you or in some cases paying off a phone carrier employee. Dan's case is currently under investigation by the FBI, and T-Mobile confirms his SIM was swapped numerous times, even after he regained access to his phone and asked for an alert on his account to stop swaps. T-Mobile has not responded to my request for comment. Dan is still hopeful he'll get his money back. In the meantime, he wants to warn you.
I want to protect other people from this. You know, it's a crazy world that we live in. It's a very fast-paced electronic world. And this stuff, it happened, like I said, 1,600 cases last year to $68 million. And I'm a statistic of that.
So how can you protect yourself? The FBI advises against posting online about your assets, investments, and especially cryptocurrency. And avoid giving personal information over the phone to your mobile carrier unless you called them yourself, because it might not be your mobile carrier. In some cases like Dan's, though, all of this may not be enough to prevent SIM card swapping. He still hasn't figured out how this happened to him.
Just makes me sick hearing what happened to him. It's awful, and I had so many questions. What are phone companies and carriers doing to prevent this from happening? That's my first question.
Well, that's the big question here. Dan, I asked him, did you have a PIN on your account? He says he did, and it did not help. I understand that some carriers are making changes to fight this kind of fraud. I'm reaching out to carriers, I'm reaching out to government watchdogs to find out what can be done here, because obviously this is big fraud, big money. People are losing a lot here. There needs to be more safeguards.
Yeah, my only other question is, how does he think he's going to get his money back in this?
Well, he's hoping, the FBI is investigating. They have subpoenas. He's hopeful for that. He's also reaching out to T-Mobile because T-Mobile transferred this in the first place. Yeah. It's a long shot, but he's hopeful.
Well, I hope you come back with a report that says this guy got his money back and all is well. But man, be warned. Thank you, Shannon. If you have a problem that needs solving, you better call Benkin. There's the telephone number, 1-855-BENKIN, or you can reach her on Facebook at WFLA Shannon.
Folks, as we say on our show, Cybersecurity Awareness TV, we must all stay cyber vigilant of these types of hacks that are going on that affects all of us in our everyday lives, from our businesses to governmental entities. And we must stay cyber aware. So I always say, folks, and tell a friend and family this, #remember, stay cyber woke. We'll be back, folks, after these messages. Hello, folks. Welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. Boy, wasn't that crazy, all the crazy hacks that are going on in this episode? Absolutely amazing, folks. But there are some things we can do to protect ourselves. Nothing is 100%, but folks, it's best to go into a war with some sort of weapon than to go into a war with a pencil to fight a war where people are shooting at you with guns, folks. It's best to have your gun ready at also. And I say it to tell you that there are some things you can do to protect yourselves, to be offensive and to be defensive against these types of cyber attacks. One of the biggest one is always remember to change your passwords regularly, folks, on a regular basis. This morning, I got a couple friends of mine on Instagram that had their passwords hacked by hackers, and it's a simple operation. What the hackers are trying to do is trying to convince you to go to a website where they can download a payload of viruses and malware onto your smart device. You don't want to do that. If some of your friends on the social media apps will text you with the information and want you to click onto a website, do the old-fashioned thing that our parents have raised us with. You pick up a phone and call them and ask them, did you send me this text? Did you send me this email? And if they did not, then delete it or report it to your social media company, because they are very concerned about this as well, and they want to do their due diligence to make sure they can stop these types of fraudulent operations that are going on. So that's the biggest one, folks. We always say that in the show, and I keep emphasizing again, folks, it's the password. That's the start. Make sure you change your password. Also, if the website you're visiting has the capability for multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, use it. Is it 100%? Nothing is in the world of cyber right now, but I can tell you, folks, at least having two-factor identifications gives you an edge on what you can do to protect yourselves. That means that when you log into a website, the website will ask you for a security code which they will send to you on your smartphone or through an email. That number is then re-entered back into the website, allowing you access to it. Those are things that I recommend you would do if your financial institution has, but most of them are now going that way. As of today, June 18th, 2022, that is the most secure way that we have today. Again, it may change tomorrow because hackers, again, folks, are looking for ways to exploit our information every day, and we must stay vigilant as we can every day to protect ourselves. Folks, you can learn more about how to protect yourselves from these types of cyber attacks by visiting my website. That's at macjacksonjr.com. That's macjacksonjr.com. Or again, folks, go to my business website as well. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group for your company, and make sure your company has proper training policies and procedures in place to train your employees. And folks, like we always say, that's the best way to protect ourselves from these cyber attacks is through education. All right, folks, that's all we have for today. And we appreciate all of you joining us here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV. Again, my name is Mac Jackson. Folks, go on the internet, find me on social media, send me your information, emails, and comments, and contact me if you'd like to learn more about how to protect yourself from the fastest growing crime of the 21st century. Have a good week, folks. We'll see you then next week.